Welcome to part 57 of the Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg, where we explore true crime, urban legends, mysterious disappearances, myths and legends, internet mysteries, and more. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell. The Disappearance of Brandon Swanson. On the night of May 14, 2008, Brandon Swanson, a 19-year-old student at Minnesota West Community and Technical College, disappeared under mysterious circumstances. Born on January 30th, 1989, Brandon had been celebrating the end of the spring semester with friends. He attended two parties that evening, one in Lind, Minnesota, and another in Canby, Minnesota, approximately 40 minutes from his home in Marshall. As Brandon drove home in his Chevy Lumina, he accidentally drove into a ditch on a rural road. Around 1:45 a.m., he called his parents, Brian and Annette Swanson, to ask for help. Brandon informed them that he believed he was near Lind, halfway between his home and the town of Marshall. However, when his parents arrived at the location he described, they couldn't find him. Brian and Annette tried to locate Brandon by honking the car horn and flashing the lights, but Brandon couldn't see or hear them. The call, which lasted about 47 minutes, ended abruptly with Brandon loudly swearing, followed by deafening silence. The next morning, Annette reported Brandon missing to the Lind Police Department. Initially, the authorities were reluctant to take immediate action, considering Brandon an adult with the right to be missing. However, after Brandon failed to appear, they eventually took the matter more seriously and joined the search efforts. Using cell phone pings, they determined that Brandon's last known location was near Taunton, Minnesota, far from where he thought he was. Brandon's car was found on May 15, 2008, in a ditch off a gravel road along the Lincoln County line, a mile north of Highway 68. The vehicle was not damaged but was high-centered, meaning the undercarriage was stuck on an incline, preventing the wheels from gaining traction. The car doors were open, and the keys were missing. Despite extensive searches involving local law enforcement, search dogs, and volunteers, no trace of Brandon was found. The scent dogs tracked his scent to the Yellow Medicine River, where it seemed to enter the water. But further searches yielded no evidence of Brandon's presence in the river. Several theories have emerged over the years regarding Brandon's disappearance. Some believe he may have fallen into the river at night, but no conclusive evidence supports this theory. Another possibility is that Brandon intentionally disappeared, although his parents strongly dispute this idea. However, as I have said with mysterious disappearances numerous times in this series, people like to throw this out as a hypothesis with absolutely no evidence. Once again, there is absolutely no evidence whatsoever to support Brandon intentionally disappearing. There is also speculation about potential foul play, but again, no evidence has surfaced to substantiate this. In the aftermath of Brandon's disappearance, his parents lobbied for legislative changes, resulting in the passage of Brandon's Law. This law requires Minnesota authorities to begin an investigation promptly when an adult is reported missing under suspicious circumstances. The disappearance of Lord Lucan. Richard John Bingham, the 7th Earl of Lucan, was a British aristocrat known for his charm, gambling, and high society lifestyle. Born on December 18, 1934, Lucan had a privileged upbringing, attending Eton College before serving in the Coldstream Guards, and eventually becoming a professional gambler. As an aside, Lord Lucan had been considered a model for James Bond, based on this debonair reputation. He married Veronica Duncan in 1963, and the couple had 3 children. On the night of November 7, 1974, Sandra Rivet, the Lucan family nanny, was found lifeless in the basement of the Lucan home in Belgravia, London. She had been slain with a lead pipe. Shortly after, Lady Lucan, who was also attacked and injured, fled to a nearby pub for help, claiming that her estranged husband was the assailant. Following this, Lord Lucan disappeared, sparking a nationwide manhunt and a plethora of theories about his fate. One of the most significant pieces of evidence was Lucan's car, found abandoned in New Haven, East Sussex, with bloodstains inside. Despite intensive searches, Lucan was never found, and his whereabouts remain unknown to this day. In 1999, he was declared legally deceased in absentia. Theories about Lord Lucan's fate are numerous and varied. Some suggest he took his own life shortly after the incident. Lady Lucan herself believed that he jumped off a ferry, unable to live with the consequences of his actions. Others claim he fled abroad and lived under an assumed identity. Over the years, there have been alleged sightings of Lucan in places like Australia, Mozambique, Zimbabwe, and even as a hippie in India. However, none of these sightings have been conclusively proven, and many have been debunked. A more outlandish theory proposed by Lucan's friend, stockbroker Philippe Marc, suggests that Lucan might have been fed to a tiger at a private zoo owned by another friend. This theory is based on the claim that the friend offered Lucan a pistol, which he used, and that his body was disposed of in this unusual manner. Somewhat unsurprisingly, this theory has never been substantiated. A High Court judge officially declared Lucan dead in 1999, though this has done little to quell speculation. Investigations have continued over the decades, including a cold case review by Scotland Yard in 2004, which brought no new breakthroughs. In more recent years, there was a report in 2020 of a facial recognition expert claiming to have identified Lucan in Australia, which again reignited public interest. Neil Berriman, the son of Sandra Rivet, the nanny who lost her life in 1974, sought Professor Hassan Ugail's expertise in his quest for justice. Professor Ugail compared historical images of Lord Lucan with photographs of an elderly British man residing near Brisbane. His algorithm, trained on millions of photos and known for its high accuracy, indicated a strong match. Ugail asserted that the algorithm's findings were scientifically robust, as it had been previously used to identify suspects in other high-profile cases. Despite the compelling findings, the claims have sparked controversy and skepticism. Experts and authorities debated the validity of these results. However, the man came forth to prove he was not Lord Lucan. In November 2022, the UK Home Office, with assistance from the British expatriate, confirmed that he was not Lord Lucan. I've decided not to show this man's face here since he appears to have been quite distraught about the accusations, and rightfully so. If Lord Lucan was still alive, he would now be almost 90 years old. The ghost ship Octavius. The story begins in 1761 when the Octavius, a three-masted schooner, set sail from England to the Orient. The ship reached its destination in China, where it unloaded its cargo and prepared for the return journey. However, the ship's captain made the fateful decision to attempt the then unproven Northwest Passage on the return trip. This decision led to the ship and its crew disappearing into the icy waters of the Arctic, never to be seen alive again. On October 11, 1775, the whaling ship Herald encountered the Octavius drifting off the coast of Greenland. When the crew of the Herald boarded the ship, they discovered a horrifying scene. The entire crew of 28, including a woman and a child, was found frozen solid below deck. The captain was discovered seated at his desk, pen in hand, with the ship's logbook open in front of him. The last recorded position in the captain's logbook was about 250 miles north of Point Barrow, Alaska, indicating that the Octavius had traversed the Northwest Passage posthumously. This remarkable and eerie journey suggests that the ship had been trapped in the ice for years before breaking free and drifting to Greenland. Despite the vivid and detailed accounts of the Octavius, there are questions regarding the authenticity of the story. Some historians suggest that the tale might have been a conflation of various ghost ship legends, including the story of the Gloriana, another ship found with a similarly frozen crew. The earliest recorded mention of the Octavius dates back to an 1828 publication, leading some to believe that the story could have been embellished or even fabricated over the years. The enduring mystery of the Octavius lies not only in the fate of its crew, but also in how the ship managed to navigate the treacherous waters of the Northwest Passage without a living crew. Theories range from supernatural explanations to the possibility that the ship drifted through the passage purely by chance, aided by the currents and winds. After the encounter with the Herald, the Octavius was never seen again. The whalers, believing the ship to be cursed, abandoned it to drift at the mercy of the ocean. The final resting place of the Octavius remains unknown, adding to the legend surrounding this ghost ship. I think there's just not enough information on this ship existing at all to indicate that the story occurred as told. This was a merchant ship operating in 18th century England, and if the ship did exist, records of insurance for the voyage and for the ship would have at one point existed somewhere. That said, it's possible that these records have been lost in the intervening years. The Death Valley German tourist incident. In July 1996, a family of 4 German tourists, Egbert Rimkus, Cornelia Meyer, and their children Georg and Max, went missing in Death Valley National Park. The family, hailing from Dresden, Germany, had planned a tour of the American Southwest. They were last confirmed to be in Las Vegas before heading to Death Valley. The family was due to return to Germany on July 27th, but they never made their flight. Their rental van was discovered abandoned in Anvil Spring Canyon on October 21st, 1996, 3 months after they were last seen. Initial search efforts were extensive, involving multiple rescue teams and even aerial searches. They focused on areas around Anvil Canyon and Mengel Pass, but no trace of the family was found beyond some personal items and a logbook entry at Warm Springs Camp. The logbook indicating their intention was to, quote, "go over the pass." In 2009, Tom Mahood and Les Walker, who were off-duty search and rescue personnel, embarked on a mission to solve the mystery. On November 12, 2009, they discovered skeletal remains of 2 adults, later identified as Egbert Rimkus and Cornelia Meyer. Nearby, they found Cornelia's passport, identification, and other personal items. The remains of the children were never conclusively found, though some items, like the sole of a child's shoe, were discovered. One prevalent theory is that they underestimated the difficulty of their route through Mengel Pass, leading them to become stranded in the harsh environment of Death Valley. Mahood speculated that the family might have tried to walk to Naval Air Weapons Station China Lake to seek help. He further speculated that they succumbed to the extreme heat and dehydration typical of the region in July on this journey. Another aspect of the case is the family's apparent attempt to take a shortcut to Yosemite National Park. This decision might have been driven by a desire to see more sights before their return flight, but it ultimately led them into an unfamiliar terrain without adequate supplies or preparation. Despite the eventual discovery of Egbert and Cornelia's remains, the full story of what happened to this family remains a mystery. This case has gotten significant attention in recent years due to the popularity of missing 411 cases and similar phenomena. I question why the children were not found with the adults, and it does make me think that something more sinister may have happened. That said, at this point, there just isn't enough evidence. It's unclear if this matter is still being officially investigated, and if so, what agency is responsible for the investigation. The Czocha Castle. Czocha Castle, located in the village of Czocha in southwestern Poland, is a historic fortress. Constructed in the mid-13th century, the castle originally served as a defensive stronghold on the Bohemian-Lusatian border. Its oldest part, the keep, was later expanded to include residential buildings and fortifications. Throughout its long history, Czocha Castle has changed hands multiple times, enduring sieges, fires, and extensive remodeling. The castle successfully withstood a Swedish siege during the 30 Years' War due to its reinforced walls. One of the most significant changes in ownership occurred in 1909, when the castle was purchased by Ernst Gutshoff, a cigar manufacturer from Dresden. Gutshoff initiated major remodeling efforts, directed by the Berlin architect Bodo Ebhardt, based on historical paintings. Gutshoff lived in the castle until 1945, during which time he hosted several White Russian émigrés. After World War II, the castle experienced a period of looting and neglect. In the late 1940s and early 1950s, the castle provided refuge to Greek refugees from the Greek Civil War. In 1952, Czocha Castle was taken over by the Polish army and used as a military vacation resort, effectively erasing it from official maps. Czocha Castle reopened to the public in 1996, offering guided tours that reveal its rich history and many secrets. One of the most intriguing aspects of Czocha Castle is its numerous secret passages and hidden rooms. The Prince's Chamber, for example, contains an extremely peculiar mechanism. Underneath the double bed in this chamber is a trapdoor that, when activated, would drop unsuspecting occupants into the dungeon below. It's unknown why such an unusual mechanism would be in place. Some have suggested that this mechanism was a means of capturing potential enemies. Others have suggested that it was a means for important people to quickly escape into another part of the castle. Others have suggested that it was used to capture individuals in the dungeon for extremely sinister purposes. However, the truth of this mechanism remains unknown at present. Also, it should come as no surprise that Czocha Castle is rumored to be haunted. Notably, the castle was also used for a Europa Universalis IV tournament in 2023. As an avid player of said game, I have to say the idea of playing the game in a fortress that plays a regional role within the game is a fascinating idea. 7 Cities of Gold. The legend of the 7 Cities of Gold, also known as the 7 Cities of Cibola, is one of the myths from the era of Spanish exploration in the Americas. This tale has its roots in the 16th century, during the Age of Discovery, when European explorers were driven by the allure of uncharted territories and unimaginable wealth. The myth of the 7 Cities of Gold first gained prominence through the reports of Alvar Núñez Cabeza de Vaca. After being shipwrecked off the coast of Florida in 1528, de Vaca and his companions wandered through what is now the southwestern United States and northern Mexico. They heard rumors from indigenous people about cities rich in gold, fueling further Spanish interest in the region. In 1539, Friar Marcos de Niza, a Franciscan missionary, claimed to have seen one of these cities from a distance during his expedition to what is now New Mexico. His accounts, although based on hearsay and distant observations, described large, prosperous cities with vast amounts of gold. De Niza's report spurred the interest of the Spanish authorities, leading to the commissioning of a more extensive expedition. Francisco Vázquez de Coronado was the man chosen to lead the quest for these legendary cities. In 1540, Coronado set out with a large expeditionary force, including hundreds of soldiers, native auxiliaries, and a vast supply train. They followed de Niza's guidance to the Zuni Pueblo, one of the supposed cities of gold. Upon arrival, they found not the golden splendor described, but rather modest adobe villages inhabited by the Zuni people. Despite the lack of gold, Coronado continued his search, driven by further rumors of wealth in a place called Quivira, which also turned out to be a disappointment. Some historians suggest that the legends were based on the rich and complex cultures of indigenous peoples in the American Southwest. These impressive settlements may have been misinterpreted as cities of gold by the Spanish. The legend of the Seven Cities of Gold has inspired numerous books, movies, and even video games, where the myth is often explored and reimagined. Over time, the Seven Cities of Gold legend spread from North America and into Central and South America. For instance, the quest for El Dorado has sometimes been conflated with the general quest for the Seven Cities of Gold. The Bear King of Marble Falls. The tale of the Bear King originates from an incident reported in 1901. According to a story published in the Washington Bee, a young girl named Raimi Arland was abducted by a mysterious creature while gathering sheep near her home in Marble Falls, Texas. The creature, described as a great bear man, was said to resemble a bear, but exhibited human-like intelligence and behavior. Raimi's encounter with the Bear King began innocuously. She was tending to her family's sheep when a large black bear crossed her path. As she continued, a more terrifying figure emerged, a creature that seemed both bear and man. This creature, later identified as the Bear King, abducted Raimi, carrying her to its cave. Her screams alerted her mother, who gathered a search party, but it wasn't until the next day that a hunter found Raimi wandering aimlessly. After her rescue, Raimi recounted her harrowing experience. Determined to eliminate the threat, local men formed a hunting party and tracked the creature to its lair. The Bear King confronted the hunters, displaying aggressive behavior reminiscent of a great ape, snapping its teeth, beating its chest, and roaring like a panther. Despite its intimidating presence, the hunters managed to shoot and slay the beast quite easily. The Bear King legend is intertwined with Native American folklore, specifically the Kickapoo tribe, who spoke of a bear man ruling over the bears in the region. While no physical evidence remains, the story shares similarities with other cryptid tales, such as Bigfoot, known for human-like creatures abducting people. The behavior of the Bear King, especially during its final confrontation, aligns with known intimidation tactics of great apes, adding a layer of plausibility to the creature's existence. However, there are elements to the tale which suggest the newspaper may have just made the whole thing up. The story's details, such as the mention of the Moon Mountains, a non-existent range in Texas, cast doubt on its historical accuracy. Jimmy here. Hope you've enjoyed part 57 of this ever-expanding Unsolved Mysteries Iceberg series. If you're into relaxing lo-fi beats, click the link in the description and follow me on Spotify. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell. This really helps my channel grow and allows me to dedicate substantial time and effort to producing content. Make sure to check out the YouTube membership and Patreon. You can support my channel for as little as 99 cents a month. Shout out to my patrons Noah Schubert, Iced Mocha, Kurt the Squirt, Monoxide Wendigo, Jeffer Metcalf, Z-Volts, Director Delta, Unknown Delusions, Faye, Jack Russell, Boomslang, Spookiest Becky, Vespertine, Metanova, Will Roan, and Blasphemous. Big shout out to YouTube member Jordan All. Until next time, stay safe and healthy. Peace out, everyone.